Hi, the world is under siege, and we are besieged with the thoughts of what is happening to the world that we've known and lived in ever since the pandemic of the coronavirus. Under these circumstances, being locked down and locked in, or sometimes we may think of it as being imprisoned, we are fortunately provided with that time to press the pause button and rethink, reimagine, and reinvent our lives. One is because we know we have to do it, and two is because we have the opportunity to do it. Now, under such circumstances, you can either be panic-stricken and paralyzed, or you can be productive. As I think about it, it's probably more natural to be panic-stricken and paralyzed because the environment around us is the perfect setting for that. Not only are there real fears about what's real, there are fears about what is unknown and unreal. And building on these sets of fears can provide for panic and paralysis. However, if we allow ourselves to press the pause button and think about it a little more, clear our feelings about it, we can decide to do something about it, to be productive. So here is an anagram that I thought of, and I've written a few notes to share with you on what we could probably do to be a little more productive. And in order to reinvent and reimagine our lives, I've called it Reframe. So let's look at each alphabet, and then you could add your own value to it. These are suggestions. Now, R, which is the first alphabet of Reframe, is to review and reflect on what you are thinking. And you'd probably need pen and paper for this. So I suggest, as you review and reflect on what your thoughts are, keep putting them down on a paper as a list. Do not shunt any of these thoughts away. Do not sit in judgment of these thoughts. Do not segregate these thoughts as useful or useless or productive or non-productive. Just put them down. So as you reflect and review on what is going on in your mind is a reflection of your reality, or at least how you perceive your reality, and make a list. Let's go to the next alphabet of Reframe, which is E. It's about what is the level of your engagement energy with these thoughts. What engagement do you have emotionally and physically, in the sense of what actions are you taking with these thoughts in mind? So put down against each of these that you've put in a list, put down E for emotional engagement, and put down A for how you're acting on it. And put a simple score on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is the lowest and 10 is the highest. How emotionally engaged, and really we are talking about how concerned or anxious you are about the thoughts you're having. So what is your level of anxiety, concern in terms of your emotional, mental state of mind, engagement with that particular thought on a scale of 1 to 10. Similarly, what are you doing about it? And be honest with yourself. Put your engagement in terms of physical action, activity, or anything that you're doing to activate the process against that thought or the concern that you have. Put that down on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is you're not doing anything about it, 10 is you're doing everything you can about it. Right, so we've got R and E down. Now comes the F. F is the focus on 5, which means focus on 5 of those things which you consider would be really of great importance to you. Now you may want to look at the top 2 of these 5 as the ones where your scores on emotional engagement and actual engagement as being high on each. So if you've got high scores on some of them, choose 2 of them which are of concern to you, where your scores are high on both, and put them as 2 out of the 5. Then look for something in the middle which has not caught enough of your attention but perhaps could grow there, where also your actions or your engagement in actuality to do something about it is not really high. Now these could easily grow in different ways. So if you find something that's of concern to you over there in the middle, put that down as well as perhaps the 3rd out of the 5 that you're looking at. Then look at the last 2, which would be anything that you're extremely emotionally engaged with in terms of anxiety and concern and worry, and where you're not doing much about it. For whatever reasons they are. Maybe you can't do anything about it. Maybe you won't do. Maybe you need others to do something about it. Whichever way, it's not resulting in any action from you. So look at the bottom 2 as being actually perhaps the most critical 2, where your emotional engagement is high and your actual engagement in terms of action is low. So now you have your F, the focus on 5. Then R. So now that you know what you need to focus on, you perhaps need to rewire the way you look at things, which means you have to have a rewiring plan on how you can keep coming back to these 5, because your mind is definitely going to lead you to where you already are and always go. But if you really want to rewire, reframe the way you look at things, then you need to look at this business of having a rewiring plan. So put down against these 5, what do you think you should be doing about it? Maybe at least for the next 1 week or 2 weeks. We have the luxury of having 2 to 3 weeks to plan this. So maybe you can put a week by week plan for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, so that would account for a month. Once you have this rewiring plan, you've finished with the R, and you're looking again at the A of Reframe, which is how do you activate this? It's good to have a plan, but you need to know what do you have to do to activate it? How do you put it into action? What resources do you need? Do you need help and support? Do you need to do something more than what you're doing? Are the resources close at hand? Do you have to reach out for it? In what way can you make these things work even in the littlest way? Because as long as your mind registers that you're doing something about it, there is progress. It's like being in a traffic jam. If you're stuck and waiting for the signal to turn to green, then you are helpless because you depend on other people to tell you when to move. But if you somehow make your way through that traffic, even if you have to take a by-lane and move and take a little extra long to get where you want to go, but somehow even that little action of taking charge of what you are doing and moving from point A to point B via maybe a side lane of point C would help you know that you are taking some action. So look at how you can activate this. And once you have this action plan, you come to the M of Reframe, which is at the end of each week, look at measuring progress. Look at how much you have succeeded. Maybe put down something in a quantitative way on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is, a lot of progress and 1 is no progress or very little progress. And make amendments to your plan. Make amendments to what your plan is to rewire and what is your action plan to actually activate these things in any way possible. So that's your M. And then we come to E to cap off your reframing, which is find a way to educate yourself or re-educate yourself on these 5 and what's important and how this is going to impact perhaps the rest of your life and what you want to do with your life, especially once we are beyond this scare that we have, once we are beyond the pandemic and we are leading lives that are going to be productive. So enlarge the playing field by connecting the dot, adding resources, adding more detail, painting the corners, making it stand out. So the more you put in more details, the more you are enlarging the playing field, giving you more scope and more capability of doing things about what you have on hand. And of course, there are 3 E's to this last E is energize yourself with empathy to reach out to others and find new ways through that empathy to go forward. So reframe your lives, look at how you can get it forward. I'm sure that at the end of these 3 weeks to 4 weeks, when we look at the other side of this isolation, you will have had a reasonably good idea of what you want to do in the reimagined, reinvented life that lies ahead of you. Thanks for listening in. I hope you have an engaging time with this isolation and the lockdown. Let it not lock you down, but let's lock in to the rest of our lives, because that's where we are going. See you around. Bye for now.